Hello, hello. Good morning, everybody. It is time. Time for our first painting lesson. No, you. Had 2 weeks off to finish our projects, or at least get them to the stage where we could start the painting process. So, I've realized through the assembly of the finishing of my project that there's certain elements that are best left separated for painting, and then we can glue on after it's all been painted. So I don't know if any of you encountered that while you were kind of piecing together everything, but typically if you're trying to add a piece and there's a lot of space underneath the part that you're gonna have a hard time reaching with the brush, and if all you're doing is gluing it with super glue, you might as well just wait till after. So we're going to go over, I can't wait to see what you guys have done, those of you that have been following along, but I will take a look at the hashtag week 11 group after we get done with our first paint lesson today. So we're going to try to get the paint job wrapped up in 5 lessons, so it'll be 5 weekends of us kind of working through the paint job. So yeah, but let's start with me showing you guys what I ultimately ended on here, and showing you the accessories, just kind of the game plan for the piece as far as how we're going to be moving forward. So yeah, it's not just going to be one lesson. We can't get it through all the sections of color. Let's see here. So here's what I came up with. This is not attached right here. So you can see I added some pouches onto his hat. The pouch right there. The scroll dealy, a random pouch there. Here's his money bag. And then I built this exoskeleton, and there might be other little dangly bits that I'll add on, but it's not really crucial that those are done for painting. And then the way I'm gonna tackle the inside here is I have all these mushrooms that are going to be in there, and to fill the void I'm going to use this stuff, which is called Spanish moss. So I'm going to have these painted and kind of like in the mix of his package contents, if you know what I mean. So, but if I was to attach that right now, it'd just be really annoyingly in the way for painting. So we want to do all the painting first before we do that. So paint the mushrooms, paint the character, and then start gluing on stuff like this. So we'll get into we'll hopefully get into kind of sort of the mixed media, different things you could find to use. This stuff's called Spanish moss, and I use it a lot. I think it's a really good looking material to work with for a lot of different things. So, and then here's his scythe, which I decided would be better to paint and glue on separately. And then same with his dagger. And then I started to sculpt some other components, which I'm not sure if I will end up using or not, but same thing. They could be just attached later. I think it's better to have too many components to work with and then not use them and save them for another project. But as far as this is a complete piece where we can paint this and everything else could be added after the painting's done. So the piece itself, the character itself, won't be baked again. So that's the stage we want to get to before we decide to start painting. So okay, now let's go over we have our colors here, which if you don't know, I recommended a set of colors. Which mine are the same, except there's a few substitutions because I couldn't get the I couldn't order the set and get it in time, so I had most of the colors already. Just a few that are like the same but different named, like the green is a different green, which we have to actually switch my camera filter so you can actually see the, but they are the same colors, so don't worry about that. Just slightly different names. The green is gray, and yeah, see, there we go. So it's the same kind of green. Everything else is pretty. I think the red is a little bit different too, different name, but same color set that we're working from as you guys. Let's see here. So you're gonna need your paints. You're gonna need a palette of some sort. I have this tinfoil covered plastic palette. Some people use a wet palette, which is essentially you take a wet paper towel inside of a tray, and then you put a piece of parchment paper over that wet paper towel, and then you put your paint on top of that, and that's called a wet palette. It'll keep the paint kind of workable long term. So if you're one of those people you only have like a little bit of time here and there to paint, you might want to consider using a wet palette, so that way you're not wasting paint. I have a little thing of water. You never heard of that? Yeah, it's really cool. So you take a wet, like a soaking wet paper towel, and lay it down in some sort of tray, and then you put parchment paper right on top of it. And then when you put your paint on there, it'll not allow the paint to actually dry. So.
Mom said the eggs taste a little bit weird, Mommy.
Oh, okay. All right, Emma. Well, I'm having class, so you need to go, okay?
Well, can I?
All right.
I'll see you when you're done doing your class.
Yes.
Okay.
Oh boy, she's pushing the limits. All right, so you need your water, okay? You need some sort of paper towel or tissue paper. Always just have this on hand because there's lots of techniques and stuff you'll need, to dry your brush off after you rinse it, or you'll need to. We'll go over what's called dry brushing, which is you load your paint up with brush and you rub off most of it, so that way when you paint with it, it just leaves like a highlight. And then all kinds of different brushes. There's all kinds of different brushes. These thinner ones are really nice for detailing. These ones are really good. These are kind of like makeup brushes, and I like using these a lot for dry brushing. So, but you can see I got all kinds of different shapes and sizes. And one thing that you might not think of, but you'll need a tool like this, a needle tool. And that's because it's very common for these paint bottles for them to kind of get clogged up there. So you need to give them a poke. So, and if you haven't done it already, this is what I like to do. But see, when you get your first set of paints, take a paint drop and put it right on the cap, and that way when you're looking at all your colors, you can see the colors, just the actual dried paint color on the top there. But yeah, there we go. That's all you'll need. Okay, so we have right, yeah. You don't see, there's a lot of differences between like a miniature painters and the way they work and the way you're going to work on bigger stuff. It's more of like if you ever looked at like collectibles, like sideshow collectibles and stuff, it's a lot more effect painting, a lot less you know what I mean, where miniature painting styles are just really exaggerated and almost look comic book like. I lean more towards doing like actual metallics for metals and just kind of effect painting, and less of that really controlled doing every like layer of gradient kind of paint job. But that's just how I do it, and that's just how I prefer things. So there's a million ways to do things. This is just my way. But okay, so let's get into it. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to figure out what part I want to paint first. And I'm pretty sure today we're going to start with the skin tones on the face. And the way I decide which the sections to paint first is think of how the sculpture is layered. So, for example, if I do the face first, I can be real sloppy with it. And then when I do the beard, I can kind of clean up my sloppiness, right? Or like, say for example, the lower part here with this sock, I would want to paint, say I painted the pants and the boots first and then had to get under there carefully and paint the sock. You know, you don't want to do that. You want to paint the sock first because it's the hardest to reach layer, and then when I go and I do this and this, it's overlapping. So no priming is necessary. Yeah, you don't have to prime your sculpts if you're working in polymer clay, that is. If it's made out of resin or anything like that, you might want to prime it, but the paint sticks just fine to polymer clay. Doesn't need any help. And then when we paint the wood areas here, we want to be very careful. Not very careful. We want to paint it a little bit different. So, but again, you know, I wouldn't want to paint the wood until everything underneath is painted. See that? So you're always thinking of, okay, let's get the hardest to reach spots first and then kind of work our way out. So I think we'll do the head, and then we'll also do the hands since it's all skin tone. So, and the ear, and then we'll go from there. So your kit does come with a skin tone. It's this tan skin color right here. Now what we want to do, would you paint the wood with paint? With paint, yeah, you can use watered down acrylic paint, and that will act like a stain. You don't have to actually use stain. Right. Can the wood part come off, or it doesn't matter? No, it's permanently attached. I glued this on there. It's not going anywhere. So it's not going anywhere. Okay. So I think what we want to do is we want to establish kind of like our mid-tone color. Let me show you guys some reference actually first. The way I started looking for painting reference, I started looking at like, what do like oil painters use for reference, and specifically with doing skin tones and the face. Hey Grandma, how you doing? We're just about to get the paints going here. Let me do this. Let's see. Let's take a look at it. If you go to our Pinterest reference board, I saved some pins, but what you have to keep in mind that there's a lot more colors going on in the face other than just I put myself there we go. Than just a normal skin tone. You can see we got red, we got yellows, reds, and blues. So, and here's like a perfect kind of diagram that kind of shows those areas. And here's another one too. So keep that in mind. So, but first what we're gonna do is we're going to start with our skin tone. Now I think this is just a little bit too dark. I want to lighten this up. So first step, we want to give it a good shake here. Skin tone is your biggest problem. Yeah, it's challenging for sure. There's this technique I'm going to do here that should make it a little bit more simple. So, and create a good result. Okay, I'm gonna use a little bit of this white too, so I'm gonna shake this up. So give your paints a nice shaking before you start. Okay. Oh, look at that. Well, that would have threw things off. Maybe I'll take this off for you. There we go. Oh, and see this one's clogged, so we're just gonna take our needle tool, go like that. There we go. This paint goes a really long way, so you don't need as much of it. I'm not sure if there's a bearing or anything in there. I've not had a problem with mixing it. Alright, so you can see I'm just going to use a little bit of white. That might even be a little too much, but we'll see. It's okay if we start a little bit bright. Now let's see what paintbrush I'll start with. I'll start with this one right here. It's the first section of color you don't have to be very careful with. Actually, no, that's okay. That works out pretty good. There we go. Whatever your medium tone of your character will be. So not the darker color, not the lighter color, right in the middle. That's what we want. Now I'm gonna take my brush. I'm gonna dip it in the water just once, and put that into that paint there. That's gonna thin it out just a little bit, so it spreads easier and kind of goes further. There we go. Okay, so let's just cover everything with this color now. Now you want to create a little overlap. So see, I'm going to go a little bit onto the mustache there. You always want to overlap your layers so that way there's no little spots where you just left unpainted accidentally. This is what we call base coating. So we want to get this first layer to be nice and thorough. Really make sure that everything's covered. You know, I'm even gonna go all over the eye, just like that, see? And just cover. Make sure it gets into all those little bits of detail that we put in there. And this first section can be sloppy, because like I said, it's, you know, we haven't painted anything else yet. And when we go and we paint all those other parts, that's when the lines will clean up, so. You can, yes, all these tutorials are saved on playlists on Twitch and on YouTube, so for forever. Or for you to look at forever. Okay, same thing with the hairline here. I'm gonna let the skin tone go a little bit into the hairline, and that way we can blend those two sections together really nicely, so there's no gray left behind. Up into the eyebrows. Now when you're painting your character, you gotta always like turn it, you gotta change the angle, because there's little spots that like to hide from you because they're like under a shadow. Rewatch many times till it makes sense. I mean, you should, as you're working, I think with painting it's probably a little easier to follow along, but don't try to keep up with me, you know, like pausing the video or replaying and revisiting the video should be a common thing, I think. Okay, the missus has prepared a homemade wet palette. So you can see little dish, wet paper towel, and then parchment paper right on the top there. If you put your paint on there, it won't dry. So you can like periodically work over a course of hours and it won't dry. So there you go. Homemade wet palette. It's pretty thin. Like I said, you saw me thin it out once with the brush. Oh, and hold on, I gotta change something real quick to add a filter to the camera. What's this little guy's name? I don't know. I'm worried about mixing up too little of a color and not being able to replicate it again. If that happens, it's okay. So what you do is you just try to blend in your zones of different color so there's no hard line of separation. And actually having more color actually makes your piece look even better. So even if you try to mix it and it's not quite the same, you can still use it and it'll be fine. So, okay, 1 second. Let me add this filter to the camera. It's been a while since we painted on stream, so I don't have a painting filter. Or what you can do is you can mix it, take your new color and just kind of go back over the areas that you had covered with the other color initially, you know. And the more times you try to mix your colors and match them up, the better you're going to get at it, and the less likely that's going to happen. So don't be afraid of that. Okay, hold on. Okay. Let me add a filter here. There we go. So I can see that this is looking a little bit on the gray side because of the thinned out layer. So what I'm probably gonna do is I'm gonna do another coat before we get into the next part of this. Different colors will have different kind of levels of coverage, and you'll become familiar with that over time. You know, certain colors like yellows and stuff tend to be hard to cover. Say something was like really bright yellow. A lot of times what you want to do is paint it white first. I'm gonna get in there with the ear too, so it's really hard to reach in there, but we're not gonna worry about. We can be sloppy here, it's okay. Now's the time to be sloppy. Just want to get it covered. Get the other ear. And so I'm keeping moving because by the time I'm done with these other sections, I'll be able to go back on the face and it should be dry. And I can just add our second layer. Keep turning it, make sure you get it all covered. Coverage is the key here. If anyone's kind of newer coming in here, just this is a tutorial stream, so I'm a little bit less responsive to chat. I promise I'm not ignoring you. It's just we stay on point with the lesson, and I'll be able to catch up with you guys once we're done with the teaching part. And if anyone's subscribing or donating or whatever, I will give you guys a call out at the end today. So thank you. We're also, after we get done with the painting lesson, we're gonna go check out Discord and see how all the students are doing, which, if you didn't know, you can share your work if you've been following along and get some feedback every week. You just have to do hashtag whatever week was the last week. So hashtag week 11 is what you need to put in for feedback this week. I guess next week will be what? Hashtag painting 1? Something like that. Hashtag paint 1. Alright. Hey Ron, you'll have to email me if you'd like to get something made. Most of my work is commissioned work, so info@cnapbush.com. Okay, so continuing to turn things around and check from all angles, make sure we got. It's so easy to leave behind a little gray spot, I'm telling you. Be very thorough. Okay. I'll go back over the face now. And you know, painting is a layering game. So if you add a color that you're just not quite happy with, or you know, you feel like something's just not looking right, just create another color and add it on, layer it up, you know. I've had many times in the painting phase, you'll have like where things just don't look right and you keep adding layers and layers until all of a sudden it does. So okay, I actually need to mix a little bit more of the skin tone. So I just try to remember the ratio of white to the skin tone. So I had, you know, just kind of put a mental image of the size of the drop. So I had, you know, about that size, and then like just like maybe one drop of white right next to it. It was about that ratio. Good morning, Celestra. And then mix that in. And again, it's okay if it's not perfect. Close enough is good enough for me. I'm gonna add that drop of water. The drop of water makes a huge difference. All right, I'm gonna take mushroom out of his hand. That here is where the benefit of having detachable pieces or having pieces not attached permanently makes life a lot easier for the painting step. I can see a little spot I missed next to the ear there. Lots of little hard to reach spots in the hand here. This is why I wanted a bigger, long bristled brush. Much easier to get that paint in those areas. Okay. Okay. Let's we need to let this dry now. And we should probably do this step. There's a step that you can do. So what's going to come next is we're going to do a series of washes over the face, which if you don't know what a wash is paint that you've watered down or thinned out in some way to the point where it's so thin that it just leaves a very subtle trace amount of the color behind. And you can use washes to get to bring out detail, because if it's really watery, the paint will kind of go into all the deep crevices, all the deep recesses. And we're going to use a series of washes that are not going to make sense. Not going to make sense initially until after you see the final result. But before we do that, it's wise or smart to do a layer of varnish before. So that's a good time for us to get into varnishes. Now you can trust the process, right? You can do it without doing the varnish. It's just there's a chance that you might doing these washes, you might rub up that skin tone that's underneath. So let's get into some varnishes. So I typically just have two types of varnish. One is a matte varnish. This is the best matte varnish I've been able to find so far. I'm sure there's many out there. All you gotta do is buy a varnish, research one you want to get. This is what I use. Paint it on something and see the level of the shininess. So this ultra matte will make something that is shiny turn not shiny. So that's how good it is. So I could paint this on my glass desk and it would be matte finish. So this is what we're going to use. But then I also have a gloss varnish. Gloss varnishes are much easier to find than a good matte varnish. most gloss varnishes are indeed glossy. Now, we won't really get into these and their uses until later, but essentially we'll want to make things that are like clothing, you know, stuff that are naturally more matte, you know, matte varnished, and then you can create contrast later on by making, for example, things that are metal and shiny or wet, like the eyeballs or stuff like that. You can use gloss for that. So you're creating a whole nother layer of contrast, not just from the color, but also the level of the shininess. So, and you can do all kinds of layers in between too. You can mix up the two and make something in between and use it for like the skin. You know, there's all kinds of different ways to play around with that. So it just, what you're doing is you're describing what the material is made out of, essentially, to the viewer. So those are the varnishes. We're going to use just the matte varnish, and I'm going to paint it on the face once this dries. It should be pretty dry soon here. I'm just double checking and making sure. I saw a little spot above the eyebrow. And a little bit above the eyebrow there. It dries very quick. It dries very quickly. Like the hands I can already touch. Most of the face I can touch already. Yeah, acrylic paint takes very little time to dry. So I mean, if you're in like a speed painting mad dash rush, you could use a hair. I wouldn't use a heat gun. I would use a hair dryer. Heat gun would be a little too hardcore. You just look for the shininess. Once the shininess goes away, you know it's dried. So, looks like the hands are good. We'll go ahead and varnish the hands. You want to make sure your brush is extra clean here. And varnish works pretty much the same. You can apply brush varnish, or you could apply it through an airbrush. Which a lot of the times when I finish a piece, I will use the airbrush to apply the varnish, but it's not necessary. You could use a brush just fine. Just try not to stay on one area too much, because then we'll rub off that layer that's underneath. You just want to get the varnish where it's going and let it dry. So what we're doing is we're effectively locking in this base coat of skin color. So when we do all these little more rugged layers on top, it's going to not affect our base color. You never knew to varnish before washing? I used to not do it, but it's something I've fairly recently learned myself, and it just makes perfect sense. You know, one thing I want to play around with a lot too is if you do layers of varnish between layers of paint, it creates depth. If you think about it, it creates actual depth. So you can really get, there's really a whole world to play around with there, with doing varnishing in between layers. You ever seen those people do those like fish paintings with resin, where they build up layers of resin and they paint parts of the fish, and when it's all done, it's like, looks like a three-dimensional fish? It's the same kind of concept, just on a smaller scale. Yeah, any varnishes you try, just any sort of paint, I would say, that other than what I recommend, because I've already tested it. If you try any varnish or any paint, make sure you do test strips first, because some paints and some brands, for some reason, just don't like to be applied to polymer clay. So that's something to watch out for. So always just make a little strip of clay that's baked and paint your whatever new paint you're trying on that strip. If it dries, then you're good. You know, that's all you got to do. And that'll also let you kind of see how the paint reacts with the clay and how it looks, and if it's the right look that you're going for. It's just a habit you want to get into. Don't just buy a new varnish and spray it all over your project and be like, oh no, nothing's drying. It's staying a sticky mess. Okay. Alright, so we painted the hands. That gave the face enough time to dry, so I just checked. You just turn it and you can see if it's shiny, and it looks like we're good. So I'm just gonna go ahead and apply our varnish to the face and onto the ears. So you'll see this is the way I like to paint, where we kind of will focus on one section at a time. So right now we're just doing skin tones, and we're bringing the skin tones to 100% completion, and then we move on to the next section. In a lot of ways, it's very similar to the way I sculpt, with simplifying our process by focusing on one thing at a time. I'd say one thing that does help, if you base coat the whole piece, it can help you pick out your kind of color scheme a little easier. I've done that a few times before. That's true there, Bubba. Yep. Depending on if you use matte varnish. Matte varnish has more kind of like more grab for the paint to actually grab onto. Alright, so since it's matte varnish, we just have to wait for it to not be shiny, and then we'll know it's dry. So let that dry. Let's actually talk, while we wait for that to dry, let's talk about color scheme. So over time, you're gonna learn like what colors pair well together, and it's just, you know, there's a lot of, you could go by like certain rules, like picking opposites on the color wheel, you know, complementary colors and all that. There's all kinds of layers of color theory, but I think you should just have fun with it and really just try to make those mental notes of, oh, I really liked how this combination looks, or I really didn't like how this combination looks. And again, don't be afraid of changing. Say there's an element of the character that's just either blending in too much or it's just not working. Just repaint that section in a different color. You know, don't get attached to the work. But essentially what I like to do is find some sort of reference. If you find a reference of a character that you like how the color scheme looks on that character, then you will like how it looks on your own character. So that could be a good place to start, with just finding some reference of a character that's already done, so you can actually see it and see, yes, I like this, you know. Or you can just be completely fly by the seat of your pants, experimental too. So, but oftentimes when we do characters like this, we end up using a lot of different browns for, like, you know, leather and wood and stuff like that. And the thing I try to do a lot of is I try to diversify the types of browns, you know, so it's not all just the same, but, you know, like more orangey browns or more of a red brown, you know, more of a yellowy brown. So it all looks different, you know. But there's no wrong answers here. If you if you have Photoshop, you can take a photo of your piece and just do like a transparent painting on top of the photo, just to give you like a preview of how the character is gonna look. Yep. Or if you don't have Photoshop, you can take a photo of your character and print it out, and then just use like markers and marker over it. There's all kinds of different ways. If you're an indecisive person, you might want to consider those methods. I happen to be extremely decisive, so I don't need help with just making instantaneous decisions. So have you ever tried to like base coat the skin with a red to warm it up, or do you just add color? I've seen that before, Fat Peanut. Yeah. Oh, I've seen that before. You'll see. So this method I'm using is I've seen it. I've done it a few times, and it just works really good. So it's an easy to get a good result method. But there's all kinds of different ways. I've seen more people. They'll start by painting like the shadows of the face first, and then they start working up to the light colors, and just like really methodically working through like that. Yeah, we're not going to do that. So we're not doing that. That's for sure. Okay, so I still see some shininess. We want to wait for it to completely dry. I'm going to help the areas that are a little bit thicker. It's going to take longer to dry, so I'm just going to tap those with the brush to thin out those thicker areas. The thinner areas will dry first. That'll show you exactly where the paint's kind of pooled up. Yeah, like right there on the wrist. That's something you use a lot during the painting, where you apply the paint, wait for the thin areas to dry, and then you can see obviously where the paint's kind of pooled up. You can just kind of spread out that material. Between the fingers there. I have used Zenthal highlights before, yep. Zenthal highlights is where you base coat the piece with like a dark color, like black or something. And then you go in with an airbrush from like the angle that the light would be hitting the character. You use the airbrush with white, and it'll create a natural like grayscale. And that just helps you it helps you kind of see where the highlights should be and all that stuff. So. Do you use paint mediums with your techniques? What do you mean? Like an acrylic medium? Or like an additive? I don't really use additives other than water. There's a lot, yeah, man. The painting world is very vast. There's so many different ways to do things, so many different brands of paints and all kinds of stuff. I try to, one thing I've been really trying to explore more is effect paints. So I think there's a lot of really awesome effect paints out there that can create an effect very quickly and very easily. And, it's just about being efficient. So, because I think also it's really easy to overwork paint jobs to the point where you're doing like, you know, a paint job, you can just time sync all kinds of hours into it, and not really see much of a change. So it's very easy to fall into that. Like I have I don't know if I have it here. I don't have it. I have a rust effect paint, which is so cool. It's like magic. You literally paint it on there, and the way it dries makes it look exactly like rust, like on a rusty old metal piece or something. And the thicker it is, the darker, like naturally darker rust looks. You know, the thinner it is, it looks like thin rust. It's pretty cool stuff. I think it's dirty. It's like dirty down rust is what it's called. I think dirty down. It's like, it's pretty expensive, the little jug of it. Dirty down, yeah. But I mean, you buy that little jug of it and you're gonna have it for pretty much ever. I don't think I'll ever need to buy that again. So I haven't used. They have like other like mossy effect paints and stuff. I haven't tried. But the rust, I can definitely tell you, is really good. Okay, how are we looking here? Almost dry. Almost dry. Their patina's excellent. Okay, that's good. I might give that a try. So when you're painting, when you guys are painting your characters, for the sake of staying focused on the tutorial, I'm not really branching off, but what you could do is you could paint two sections of the character at the same time. So like right now I could be doing, when you wait for things to dry, I could be painting like accessories, you know, while you're waiting for the skin tone to dry. And then you can bounce back and forth, so you're never really sitting around waiting. I mean, maybe we should do that. Maybe I should do that. Okay, yeah, let's do that. We'll wait for that to dry. So we're gonna grab our metallic here. This is honed steel. I think your guys' kit has a like blade metal or something like that, but it's pretty much the same color. So let's mix this up. And I'm gonna paint. If you have a weapon or any sort of accessory like this, you could paint yours. But I always like to use a metallic color first, and then we use washes on top to really create a good effect here. I like to see how it looks on a 3D surface, so I can do dry brushing and washes on it too. Perhaps texture stamp could be used. Wait, with the rust? What were you talking about? Okay. Let's put our metallic paint here. Oh, might be a little clogged. Declog it. Nah, I'm really waiting to make sure that face is dry before we do these next steps, so it's good that we're just kind of doing something else. Okay, so I'm gonna paint this metallic right on this blade here. Metallics can be, some metallics cover really well, a lot of metallics don't. So you usually have to do a few layers. We might have to do that here, we'll see. But golds, especially gold paints, are it's hard to find a good quality gold. But I've really liked the Reaper metallics. They do really good. Some of the best I've used. Why isn't the painting department teaching this class? Good question. You have to ask her yourself. So it should look really bright and shiny, almost like aluminum-like. But we're going to make it look better with the layers on top. Now, I didn't, with the metallics, I never really thinned the metallics because they already have a hard enough time covering, so just paint them on a little bit thicker. His mushrooms are here. Yeah. That's something to know too, like go over the surface when you paint something, especially when you paint it on thicker. Kind of consistently go over it with the brush and make sure there's no little globs of paint or brush strokes left behind. You just kind of see, like, there's like a little pool of it there. So don't just paint it and set it down, you know. You want to make sure you're not leaving anything behind you don't want to. There we go. Let that dry. How does gold leaf work on polymer clay? Should it be painted before using gold leaf? You could probably put it right on the surface. I never tried it, but see, polymer clay is really porous, meaning it's got there's plenty for things to grab onto, like glues and paints and stuff. It's not like a slick surface like resin is, you know. Right. Well, like, for example, say you wanted to make something really chrome and shiny, you do shiny black paint under before you do the metallic. Again, there's an infinite amount of things to experiment with in the realm of possibilities. Since we got this metallic color here, might as well just do this dagger while we're at it here. Just gotta paint this. I'm not sure. I think part of this might be brass or gold, but we'll just go ahead and paint it all silver for now. And we'll just change that color later if we decide to. Alright, let's take a look at the face here. How are we doing? Alright, I'd say that's good enough. Okay, now we're gonna get into the wild, crazy, fun part. Oh, let's see. Like sun yellow. So you get your yellow, your red, and your blue. See? And what we're going to do is we're going to do a light wash of all these. Is it okay to use the same brush for the varnish paint? It is with this varnish, yeah, because it's just a polyurethane matte varnish. So it's water soluble, you know. Okay, so we want to make a very, very, very thin wash of this. And then we have to let it dry in between. So I think we'll start with blue first. So it's gonna look weird until we get the last wash on there, but we're creating all the different tones of color that the skin has with these thin washes, and we'll need them to dry kind of in between. So we don't need much paint. Yellow, red, and blue, that's right. So let's start with the blue. Might be too much, that's okay. Trust the process. Okay, now we're gonna take our water and we're gonna just drip it in there once, 2, 3, 4 even times. And you can just see how it runs. Very, very, very thin trace amount. You can see on the palette. That's kind of what we want. That's pretty good. Almost like slightly thinner than milk. Okay. So here we go. Now we take it and we're just going to apply it all over the face. Now you gotta be quick here. You gotta apply it. And then we gotta sort of remove the excess with the paper towel. So work one section at a time, because you don't want it to start drying on you. There we go. Take our little napkin here. You can use the brush, rinse your brush really quick. And we're just gonna tap those spots that we can't reach with the napkin. We just don't want to leave big pools of it. Rinse the brush, then you dry the brush. So I usually keep like the napkin in my lap. So just do that really quick. There we go. Now is it meant to? I think so. I'm gonna do that. Let's do that to the hands while we wait for it to dry over there. I'm not sure how we got paint over there, but I guess that happened. Let's do the hands here. This is why I'm doing this process first, because you can see how you got to be quick, so you can just be nice and sloppy and get it all over the place. Dab it with the tissue. The brush will kind of act like a sponge. If you don't have any paint in it, it'll kind of drink it up. Okay, let's do this hand here. The more layers you have in your paint job, the better it's going to look. So we've learned two of the three things you'll need. I'm gonna let that dry. Two of the three things you'll need to know to be able to do all your paint work: base coating, washes. This is what we're doing. So we've done those two. The third one is dry brushing, and we'll get into that here in a minute. But if you use a combination of all three of those things, you can just endlessly create nice painting effects fairly simply too. It's not too difficult. So with the washes, you're paying very close attention to how thick the paint is when you're making your wash. So if you can make thicker washes where it leaves behind more paint, or thinner washes where the paint runs and kind of leaves a very slight trace layer, like what we've done here with this blue. If I mix this blue thicker, we would create a much different effect. So we're just gonna wait for it to dry. Should we do the ears? We probably should do the ears too. Let's just do the ears. And then same with dry brushing. How much paint you have on the brush determines the type of dry brushing. So base coating, the key with base coating is to get a nice solid coat that is thorough and covers all of the part that you're painting. That's the thing to focus on. Picking the right color, making it a nice solid color. Time for some hook hands. There's a reason, Josh. You'll see. The blue does not make sense right now. I know. But trust. There's a specific process we're doing with these three colors: blue, yellow. Our next color is gonna be yellow. And the best way to describe it is this right here. This is the best way to describe it in visual form. But when you think of the face, we think it's all skin tone, just regular base colored skin color. But the reality is you have yellow, blue, and red going throughout the whole thing. So we're simulating that by doing a base skin color, and we're doing really light washes over with those colors, and it's going to create a real nice looking, real looking skin tone in the end. Once we have all the layers kind of stacked on top of each other, the end result will be really good. And we'll go into some of these key areas, like with the nose, and we'll make it a little bit more red. So I do a basic wash over the whole thing just to get everything covered with those colors. Then we'll go in and we'll add in specific areas, like the reds around the eyes, a little more red, doing washes again, a little bit more controlled washes, not over the whole thing. So that's the process that we're going to be doing. So yeah, this is another good one here too. It's right here. Just kind of shows that there's just different values that make up the skin color. So here's it in practice. You know, painters, people that paint portraits like this, have to know these things, you know, so that they're the best to learn from these little rules. You know, it's like reading their notes essentially and applying it to our own work. Imagine what we're painting is a canvas too. It's just a three-dimensional canvas, and we have the advantage of having texture to use to do the work for us, you know. So okay, we want to make sure it's dried. just a tad bit longer. The hands look dry. We'll go ahead and mix, and we'll start with the hands. Let's do our yellow next. I'm not sure. We gotta figure out how, what the next class will be. I'd like to do. I think I'd like to do a dragon sculpting class, but there's some logistical things we gotta figure out first. So 3, 4. So again, getting it really thin. Just see how it runs on the palette to know if it's thin enough. And we're going to do the same thing. One more drop of water here. So this process is, don't get too attached or don't get too careful. You want to stay loose during this. And just know that this is building us a foundation to work from. Yeah, I mean, that's what we have to figure out, because like this class was paid for by an individual from the community, funded this class. So that's what we have to figure out for future classes. I think I'll come up with the class pitch, and then we'll just probably run some sort of a crowdfunding campaign and go from there. Instead of having one person bear all the burden, we can all bear it together. Yeah, well, don't worry. Save your pennies for now. I'll set it all up so we have it all nice, and probably just use a GoFundMe for it. Or I don't know. Or Kickstarter, I don't know. Okay. So it's so cool to see the layers develop. Now you can imagine if you were to paint the beard and stuff first, how hard of a time you would be having. What are you talking about, Morph? I don't know what you're talking about. Never heard of such a thing. Some silly dreamers. You silly dreamers in your dreams. The problem with having a channel point goal is channel points don't add up to any sort of monetary value. If I could buy groceries with channel points, then we'd be in business. Alright, so when he had his blue layer, he was looking a bit blue. When he had his yellow layer, now he's looking a little bit yellow. Now we're going to do the red layer. After it dries. Let that dry. Let's go back over to our sickle here. It's all dried up. We're gonna paint the base color of the handle here. We have part of the kit was a muddy brown here, but let's add a little bit of red and yellow to make them more of like an orangey brown to this. So give it a mix. I want kind of like a rich orangey brown colored wood. I did blue over everything, and then yellow over everything, and then finally red over everything. Okay, let's do just a little bit. 2 drops of the brown. Let's do 1 drop of the yellow. And a drop of the red. Oh, there we go. Mix it all together. That red and yellow are very strong, like consumed the brown. Okay, so now we do a drop of black to bring the brown back. Might be too much. We're going to carefully mix in some of the black here from the side. There we go. A little bit more. gonna add a drop of water. That'll be our base color for the handle here. So now we're doing a second base coat. We just need to be careful now when we get to this seam line that is between the two. Sometimes it's better to switch to a smaller brush for stuff like that. Our rules of base coating, we want it nice and thorough. Make sure everything's covered. Carefully working that edge. When you do your edges, take your sweet time. Don't rush it, because if you get it onto the part, if you get the brown onto the part that's supposed to be metallic, then you have to switch to your metallic and try and cover it up. It's a big back and forth, so just go slow. Slow and steady. There we go. A brush of a single bristle. You can be accurate with a big brush, you know. Just pay very close attention to the very edge of the brush, you know. Okay, I'll set that down, let that dry. I'm also going to paint the handle of this with the same brown. I'm also going to paint the backside, even though the backside's not detailed and flat, just in case you're able to see some of it. It won't be sticking out like a sore thumb, you know, blended more. So let that dry. Is it okay to place wet paint down on the table? I mean, yeah, but the danger with putting paint on your or using your table as a palette, and I'm guaranteeing this is going to happen to you. Trust me, I know from experience, but you're going to accidentally dip your arm or something into the paint and then get it all over the place. It's going to happen. So keep it in the palette. Trust me. Oh. Yeah, you can do that. That's fine. This is just the base coat, and there's going to be, you know... Yeah, it's not going to take the paint up or nothing. Even if it did, it would be just on the top surface, which we're going to dry brush over that anyways to create the highlights later. So, really, the important part of the base coat is that it's in all the hard-to-reach spots. So yeah, that's fine. The point of contact is so small on the table that it doesn't matter. Alright, now our jaundiced fellow needs some, he needs some red. Do some red here. Next step. So we've done the blue, we've done the yellow, now it's time for the red. Oh, way too much, okay, it's alright. Oh, here's a little trick you can do if you add way too much color. Let me show you guys this trick. Actually, let me clean that off real quick. Hold the bottle up like this, so all the paint's in the bottom, and squeeze it carefully, okay? And then you're gonna tip it up like this and let go of the squeeze and drink it back into the bottle. See that? Oh, so that's the part you gotta be careful about. Gotta make sure it's all the way down first. Oh, some bubbles. There you go. Drink it back up in there. There we go. Had a little too much mushrooms. Yeah. All right. 1, 2, 3, 4. Mix it. Now the red can come in strong, so we want to make sure it's thin enough. I'm gonna do 5. Okay, that should be good. That's right, yeah. Make sure your cup's very different. Your drinking cup and your paint water cup should be very different, see? So they're not easily confused. Alright, here we go. Let's start with the hands first before we do the face. It's just easier to see if we're in the right kind of wheelhouse here. Probably a little bit thinner, actually. A little bit thinner. I'd say with this process, it's better to go too thin than too thick. So if you're in doubt, make it a little more on the thinner side. Because if it's just too thin, you just have to do more layers, which is no problem. If you're in doubt, thin it out. Right. For this process, other processes, it's way better to be thicker, but okay. And last but not least, the face. Here we go. Ready? Too much. I've intentionally left a little bit more of the red on the nose. I don't know if you can see that. Again, I'm almost like beginning the process of bringing more of that color into those specific areas. Because of all the mead. Let's give it a dab there. Pretty cool, huh? How that all kind of comes together and looks like a real skin tone. Let's do the ears. Oh, and our layering has only just begun, my friends. So let's let that dry. We are blue, yellow, and red. That's right. It's like when we look at skin tone, the initial glance is that it's all just one color, but it's actually a lot of colors. A lot of different colors going on. It's just figuring out what are those colors and how do we effectively paint those colors. You know, that's the hard part. These are just acrylic paints. Okay, so we're gonna let that dry and we're gonna begin the next layers. Let's see how we doing on time here. Okay. Let's just try and get done with the skin tone section for today. Then we're gonna go and look at the students' work. So there's still a few more layers we need to do. So that's what we'll work on. Do you always do these washes in a specific order? You know, I haven't really explored the order too much there, Nolan. I'm not sure how much it matters. All I know is I do like to use the red last. For some reason, the red just kind of ties it all together. Whatever the last coat you do will be more, I guess, prominent because it's the top surface, right? So the only thing I've keyed in on this method is that I do the red last. So in this particular character, and you know, maybe depending on the type of skin tone your character has, you'll do it different. Like say he's like a really old, you know, like sorcerer character. Maybe you will do like blue last, or even do purple instead of blue, or something like that, you know. So there's so many different, like you can really do all kinds of different, same tactic, but just different order, different colors, and make all kinds of cool, crazy skin tones. So, you know, some sort of old, almost barely lifeless or barely life-filled sorcerer, you use like purple or something. Okay, so we're just waiting for this to dry, and we're gonna do the next step, which is a fun one, I will say. We're gonna take our brown color, this muddy brown, and this should be good enough just as it is, but we're gonna create, you know, skin has all kinds of little like freckles and things like that, at least mine does. So we're gonna simulate kind of like freckling and stuff like that, random little artifacts like that, by taking brown, and we're gonna water it down Hold on 1 second. It's a mix. Blemish. Yes. He's too old to not have blemish. He shall have blemish. Liver spots, getting old, yeah, you know. Freckles, whatever. It's just gonna add some realism to the skin here. So we're just gonna add a couple drops there. And we're gonna water this down as well. Let's see here. That's probably good right there. Maybe a little bit more paint, actually. There we go. This can be a little bit thicker, more like the consistency of milk. Okay. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna take it, load up the brush, and I'm just gonna take it and I'm gonna go like this. I'm gonna flick. Swish and flick. I don't know if you can see that. See what I just did there? See how nice that looks? That's it. Brown is just dark orange, that's true. If you do too much, it's easy, just rinse your brush, dry it, and just kind of clean them up. I'll wipe it up. Let that dry. Okay, and the next step is going to be to do some dry brushing. We kind of have everything all in one tone. We're gonna bring out some of the highlights with dry brushing. We're gonna take the base skin color. We're gonna bring the base skin color back. So we used just our tan skin here. You guys get to see what dry brushing looks like. And it's clogged. There we go. And a little bit of white. Actually, probably need a little bit more. A little bit of white. Again, I'm keeping in mind those ratios that we used to make the different colors. There we go, close enough. Now I'm going to take my smaller makeup brush here. You can use any sort of brush for dry brushing, but I'm going to use this one. Actually, you know, maybe this one right here. Oh, that one's a little bit too stiff. Let's see if we can unstiffen it. We'll use this one. And you're gonna load the brush up here. Okay, load it up with the paint. And you're going to take your cloth and you're going to brush the paint onto the cloth till it leaves. See how it's leaving just a subtle amount of paint on there? That's what you want. Okay. So you remove the paint so it's not painting on really thick. You want it to be painting on like really thin, like this. And we're going to take this. We're just going to lightly brush where we want things to highlight. Bring back out some, so top of the cheeks here. Around the eyes. Just a little bit. You could even go a step further and add more white and then do just an even smaller section. What happens if you lighten something too much? Well, then you have to bring it back down. I'll do the same thing on the hand. Like on this, maybe where the knuckles are. So also bring out some of that skin texture. Yep, exactly. You go back and forth with this dry brushing and washes, and you can just endlessly do this until you have the desired results. I actually see some red in his ear. It's pulled up. We'll grab that out. Yeah. Actually, let's grab some of that white, just like I said. We're gonna go a little bit higher on the highlight. Make like a really light skin tone here. I'm going to be very careful with this. So the more paint you remove from the brush, the more kind of soft, more careful you can be. Just gonna hit it right on the middle there. Right there. I'm thinking of the top-down kind of lighting here. All right. Now I want to go back in with red, and we can either go back in with a wash or we can dry brush the red. So let's just dip our dry brush here into the red here. And then remove the excess. It might be easier to carefully dry brush some red back in. But we want to make sure it's pretty much barely coming off the brush. Yeah, that's perfect. Bit more. Bit on the knuckles. See how those, just that subtleness, just that subtle touch can make a huge difference. We'll get in and we'll paint the fingernails. We'll probably do the fingernails, the eyes, and start the hair on the next class. And decide if I should do his cheeks. Right, yeah, so you'll see how we're gonna do the fingernails, but we're gonna go back in and paint those sections almost like a separate layer. Yeah, let's do a little bit on the cheek here. And now, no. So the way we undo that is we'll go back in with our skin, just our normal skin tone. Dry brush right back over that. Just go back and forth till you have something that you're happy with. The more layers, the better. I will like some more red around the eyes, but I'll use a different brush for that. This one's too big. Just go back to our standard brush here. And I'm gonna get the brush loaded with the wash, but not so much that it's just gonna pour out of the brush. Just a little bit. I'm just gonna go. Just around the eyes. The tint of red. Usually they're darker around the eyes, but we can use some brown too. And he's got this little opportunity for a mole there. Let's grab some of that brown color. Use a finer brush here. Grab our spackling brown. Okay. And we'll have to leave that there for now, ladies and gentlemen, and pick this back up next week for our second session. We've pretty much you pretty much got grasped the process of doing skin work. It's just kind of this back and forth with this nice solid foundation of skin tone with blue, yellow, red wash, the spackling, then you can do dry brushing and then wash little areas of wash, you know, little details. See how red has pooled there a little bit, so I'm gonna dab it. And yeah, create a really good result. So that means next week I think we'll get into painting the eyes, which is a very difficult part, but I'm going to show you a real cool trick to make it a little easier on you, where we paint the eyeball first and the iris, and then we can clean it up by doing just a little bit of a dark brown around the eyes, and that makes the eyes pop a little bit, which, because naturally our eyes have a line of dark brown around them, you know, eyeliner. It's our eyelashes, that's the dark brown. So We'll do the eyes, the eyebrows, probably get into doing the hair and the beard and all that stuff, and then work our way around the character from there. So start getting into the clothing and all that stuff. Well, we'll do the nails, the fingernails next week too. But yeah, I'm pretty happy with that. So let's get into what you guys have been working on. I'm very excited to see, since we've had, what, 3 weeks since our last update. So I'm gonna head over to the Discord, and I gotta load it up first, and we're gonna check out how the students' work is going. So. Yeah. And it's okay. So when you're working on a section, it's okay to get it to a point where maybe you're not 100% happy with it, but you're pretty happy with it, and then move on to the next sections. Because you can always go back, and you can always go back and mess with it a little bit. But if you're unsure, just set it down and maybe start working on the next sections, and or work on painting the accessories. And because sometimes you can't tell if you're happy with it until all the other colors are developed around it, you know. So you might be happy with it now, but then later, once we get all the other colors in there, you might see that things need to be shifted a little bit, and that's okay. That's perfectly normal. So that's all right, Karos. That's okay. Oh, my Discord's updating apparently. Installing update. Sadie, you have to wait. But yeah, I'm excited. I'm excited with where this is going. There's so much like I don't know, just those layers really matter. You don't realize it, but when you start doing transparent layers all stacked on top of each other, it really creates a good effect. The more layers you can do, the better. It's just hard to see it all, you know. Initially it's hard to see, but once you layer it up, you really see the effects. Okay, there we go. Discord is officially open. Okay, head over to the CNAT school. Are they glazes or still washes? I mean, I know there's a difference. I'm not sure exactly what the difference is from a glaze to a wash. I think glazes is more of like a really controlled application of a wash. Is glaze when you're using like a liquidy version of the clay? I think it's like not as thin as a wash. And you're using it to blend. You're like blending like an area of color blending into another area of color with like you paint it on kind of thicker, and then you like feather out with the brush to create a nice gradient. I'm pretty sure that's what glazing is. I'm not sure. I'm not into the all the hip terminology. Glaze is a heavy wash. Yeah, okay, that's what I figured. So it's just not as thinned out. So you can control the paint a little bit more and really leave it heavy in certain areas more. Okay, so we're on hashtag week 11, right? There we go. So should we just keep going? So next, okay, no. So for next week, if you want feedback next week, you want to type in hashtag week 12. Okay, hashtag week 12. Let's just keep the week number kind of progressing. So if anyone wants to share their work next week, hashtag week 12. So, but we're gonna look at today, hashtag week 11. So if you have something to submit, do it now. I'll go back and check and make sure we got everybody. So put this out of the way. Okay. All right, let's see what we got here. Soldier dude. All right. Very good, my friend. Wow, your rendition of the hat is like spot on. You followed along very, very well. Cool. Very nice. Ah, yes. Awesome work, soldier dude. Alright, okay. Got done with what I could. Had a few accessories to add. Definitely have learned so much. It's been a blast. My first ever sculpture. You should be happy. It's really good. Really, really good. So, I mean, you can see the things I've done where I've added some mixed media and some accessories. And just really just push it as far as you want it. But right now, technically, it's a complete character, right? So anything else is just bonus. So you can just pretty much start the painting phase whenever you want. Just add your accessories on, and like you see, some of these accessories we'll leave separate because it's just gonna be easier to paint them and then attach them instead of trying to paint them while they're attached. So, all right. Good job, soldier dude. Fuzzy. Started around the end of March on my gnome. I'm still a fair bit behind, but should be starting week 7 soon. Eventually, he'll have a wizard hat and robe. Been loving this community and the class. Thanks. Alright, let's see. Let's see what we got here. Ah. Wonderful. I see he had an ovening incident. a little bit of scorching going on up here. It's funny because I think it created some bubbles in the clay, but it actually works as texture, like a really unique texture. So, good, very good. I'm excited to see more from you. Oh yeah, definitely. I wonder if I wonder if they were baking in a first bake was a bit hot, and I'm pleased about the bubbles. Yeah, see, I would be too. Yeah, it looks nice. Okay, so was it in a toaster oven, I'm wondering? That's what I was wondering, if it was in a toaster oven. I'm guessing just temperature was just set too high. Accidentally used regular oven settings instead of my normal convection setting. Ah, I see. Okay. So the heating element was just too close to the head. That can happen. Yeah. Very good. Well, you're doing a great job. I'm excited to see the results of this. So I think somewhere in the lesson I kind of describe how to do a book or how I would do it. It looks like you're already on that path. So I'm just not sure if you've seen it or not. But yeah, looking great. 18 Vicks, okay. Could only finish both hands, mushroom, and basket. Okay, let's see what we got here. Ooh, some nice details, my friend. Some nice crispy details. Oh, wow. Wow, you really captured that real loose hanging skin effect. Like a real elderly hand. That's good. That's using reference right there. You can always tell. Can only learn that from reference. And a nice mushroom. Nice mushroom indeed. Basket's looking good. Nice and clean. It's kind of like a fur leather top. I like it. Yeah, it looks great. Some great detail work on the hands, man. Hands are the place to spend your... You have to imagine when you detail something, it's like spending points. And you only have so many points to spend per sculpture. And you should spend more points on the head and the hands, for sure. it's so easy to spend your points willy-nilly on like a knee pad or some random thing that doesn't matter so much, and then like skimp out on the hands. But definitely, it looks like there's some fingerprints going on there. Yeah, great job. Looks like you did some translucent clay for the nails, the fingernails. I wonder if 18 Vix, did you bake those first, or did you sculpt it like as raw clay into the hand? I wonder. Because I mean, that could be an effective technique, is making fingernails and baking them first and then kind of inserting them into a finger. Looks good. Especially this angle right here, you can really see that. That's great. Nice work, my friend. Translucent clay for fingernails. I shaped them, then baked along with the hand. Okay, all right. So it was just all raw clay together. Yeah. I always had, I've always seen people do like where they make teeth from something and then they insert the teeth, which is a great strategy. It's just, it's hard to make them look natural that way, I find. Whereas if you sculpt it all together, you can move the teeth around and make them look more, more natural to the actual mouth. So, the same with the fingernails or anything like that. Oh. Alright, Torn. I'll paint the white parts of the base and have to remake my shovel because I accidentally broke it. Other than that, he's ready for some paint. Okay, let's see. Alright. A noble fellow. Noble fellow indeed. What is that on the base? Oh, okay. Is that sand? That looks like sand. Oh, okay, like a little mining scene almost. Got a pickaxe, some gemstones, sandy beach. Okay, perfect. And he's gonna be holding a gem, I imagine. Like he just found it on the beach. Very good. All right, you are indeed ready for some paint. I'm excited. Alright, Plata. Didn't manage to get all caught up, but made lots of progress. I say that's what it's about. Decided to do the torso before the arms since it will be easier that way. Here's the piece in its current state on the eventual base. Okay. Ah, okay, nice. Cooking a fish over a fire. Is that a big bone-like staff club thing he's holding? That's pretty cool. Quite the primitive fellow. That's cool. Sitting on a log, his pack is next to the log. Okay. Good. A lovely scene. Well, if you're considering LED lights, there's a really cool technique you can do with fire where you can get an LED light kit that simulates fire. It's like orange lights and a red and a yellow, and some of them are flashing and some of them aren't, but all together those lights make a fire effect. So you would put those under that campfire, and then you use cotton. You take a big tooth of a tooth of cotton, and you glue it down and shape it to look just like the flame. And the way the cotton captures the light, it'll look exactly like fire. A tooth of cotton. And then you can airbrush. You can even airbrush the cotton to add some more color into it. So just something to consider, but that'd be a perfect project for something like that. So, okay. Good job there, Plata. Clayton. All right. What a great time this has been. I missed this kind of camaraderie after the Mimic class ended. Okay. So this has been a very fulfilling special congrats to the first timers here. It's been inspiring to watch you all. Yeah, I agree. It's it was nice. So what a lot of you guys don't know is we used to do classes on another platform that ended up getting canned essentially. So we had classes going pretty consistently for a little while. We probably did 3 or 4 projects together before those days were done. So it's nice to bring them back, you know, and be able to do them again. So let's see here. All right. I really like. I can already tell I like the texture on the hat. Let's see here. Oh yes, that's some nice texture right there. Looks like you made use of a texture stamp, which is good. Oh, he's got a little pipe. Oh, that's a good idea. Dang, now I gotta add a pipe to mine. Every time I look at your guys' work, I always think of these other things I want to add. Get inspired. Be the never-ending accessory project. Great job, Clayton. Great work, my friend. All right. Toadstool Titan. I'm still only able to make progress 1 or 2 days a week, so I'm behind. Don't worry about being behind, guys. It's okay. Truly. But regardless, I'm still along for the ride. The second photo is just showing how much detail I covered with my beard, which is far from finished. Lesson learned. Okay, let's see it. Oh, wow. I like the beard style you chose for your character. It's really fitting. Yeah, it's looking so good. A very long beard. Your old guy really, you can see the weight of his posture, and that's what I love seeing that. It's just really you portrayed that he's like really hunched over and holding his weight on that staff really well. So all right, let's see here. Ah, I see. Oh, I see. So you ended up covering up this detail. I see. Okay. Yeah. Don't get attached to your work. I can't tell you how many times I've done that throughout my sculpting career. But it's better to make it's better to not be attached to the shirt and say, "Oh, I'm not going to make a beard because I'm attached to the shirt," you know. So the details are under the beard and we all know it. That was good. That's really nice. But yeah, having hindsight, those hindsight moments is what you use in the future, because you'll come across a scenario like this in the future where you'll think ahead to prevent that from happening. Like, okay, I know he's gonna have a big hanging beard. Let me find out where the beard's gonna be hanging first before I do any details on the shirt. So let's see here. Jabez. Simple base ready for paint. Managed to get a lovely chunk of oak. Oh, nice. Unfortunately, I decided to use polymer clay for the terrain. Sculpey ultralight and Cos clay dull. This meant baking it, which didn't go well. A small split appeared in the wood and it slightly warped. Still lessons learned. Yeah. This is why, if you guys see how I bake my sculptures, or I create my sculptures on these just chunks of random lumber, building lumber. And then if I do get something like a fancy piece of wood, I don't transfer it to that fancy piece until all the baking's finished. Because yeah, some pieces of wood will like leak sap, others will warp or crack from the heating. And some nothing happens and you're fine, but it's yeah, like you said, lesson learned, but that's okay. You have to make do, and it looks good. Looks really good. A nice setting to work with. What a character. Good work, Jabez. Look forward to your paint. Norpa. Here's my work at the moment. I wanted the facial expression to be dreamy, and I think I succeeded quite well. The backpack is now in progress. I haven't decided yet whether both hands will hold the walking stick or whether the other hand will hold a pipe. Love this class, great teacher. Okay, let's see what we got here. Norpa. I don't know if we've seen Norpa stuff before. Ah, yes. I think you did do a good job. He's kind of in a pondering, was like watching the sunset kind of ponder, end of the day. Thinking of life. Taking it easy. Now the key to selling this expression is when you do his beard, you have to really keep that in mind and make a beard that matches as well. So yeah, it's looking really good. Oh, got some accessories. Here we go. Oh, very nice job here with the wrinkling. Both the bags, really good. Very cool. All right, you're on the road. Keep it up there, Norpa. Glad to have you with us. Mr. Brightside, well, I think, guys... Oh, okay. I think the guy's ready for some paint and a base. Can't tell you how much fun this was. I really enjoyed the entire process. Thanks again. Cheers to a great adventure. All right, let's see. Oh, oh man. What a fellow. Oh, a rope. Oh, man, I gotta add a rope. The heck. Oh, I always love the shape. The shape of the pack you chose is really nice. It's a nice shape. And the wispiness of his mustache on the edges there work really good. Great job. Mr. Brightside, fantastic work. All right, let's see here. Saradini. I think these two are ready for paint now. I have really loved this class. These classes, sorry. All right. That's right, this is the two of them. Oh, hey, that's a good idea with the sticks. That's good. The sticks look really nice. Oh, and the little chunks of log and stuff. Interesting. Start taking notes here. Getting some lessons here. Awesome. Makes the contents of the pack look real natural. Alright, second character. Arguably the harder one because he's younger. Wow. Really well done. Okay, so when you paint the boy here, you're gonna want to be more subtle with like what I showed you, the techniques I showed you is a little bit more coarse for like older skin. So you probably want to do less of you want it nice and smooth, probably more of the dry brushing, you know, blushing the cheeks more like with the dry brushing method. And like if you do freckles, maybe like do them with the brush, you know, maybe across the nose or whatever. Just less more smooth on the younger character. It'll look better. If you go like really grimy like we did for the old guy, it's gonna look weird. So when you paint his face, just try to keep things nice and smooth. Just do more of that dry brushing step at the end to like make things softer. So awesome. Nice work there, Saradini. Okami, okay. Boy, I have to tell you, this project sure was tested my problem solving and mental fortitude. All right. Do you know how many times I hit foil, wires, and baked clay as I tried to sculpt this guy? Oh, I bet. That happened to me that used to happen to me all the time, where I'd run into the foil or I'd run into my armature wire, and it's just part of the process. The more painful those moments are, the more you're likely to make it not happen again, you know? It's just part of it, so. Not to mention his broken ankle surgery. I'm all the more happy to have made it this far. While I'm still a little behind, sculpting has reached 90% completion, and all that's left is bits and details here and there, accessories, and the base. I always find that I'm too excited the day before class to make any real progress. I will greatly miss the sculpting reviews and seeing the consistent sculpting progress for everyone in the school. I love checking the channel each day. Thank you, Chris, and secret sponsor for awesome classes. Yeah, you know what? And we'll probably, if we can continue these classes moving forward, I think it will be okay to. Yeah, we have to figure out how we want to do that. For submitting work from a previous class, I'm wondering if we should allow that. I'm not sure. I don't know. We'll figure it out. Because I know there's going to be people following these classes after we're done, after they're no longer live. So I'm just wondering how long we will keep up with the feedback. Because it also could get out of hand too if we're not careful. Pain is gain, that's right. But just because we're in the painting stage of this class doesn't mean you guys can't submit sculpting reviews. So just keep until we get to the end where the project is finished. Go ahead and keep submitting. So next week will be week 12 for submitting for feedback. Maybe only do it for the last and current. Yeah, maybe. Just allow submitting a final, maybe. Oh, yeah, that's a good idea. Yeah. That might be a good idea. Where you guys can, at any point, we could be like 3 classes away from this one, and whenever you finish your Gremlin, you could submit it so we can actually see it live all together. That's a good idea. I don't know, we'll figure it out. I gotta think about it a little bit more, but I might just allow feedback indefinitely. So, all right, let's see what we got here. Oh, ooh, oh, that's a nice drinking horn. Oh, that's a nice one too. Oh my goodness, wow, great job. Let's do that one more time here. Oh, nice muscle work on the forearms. Very good. Now one more time. That's a good one. Wow. Fantastic work. Really, really good job there, Okami. Can't wait to see the painted version. Yeah, it's really, really good design. Just like the look, it's like totally pulled out of an animated film, like high quality animated film. Awesome. Lavid, hi. As you can see, I'm just getting started. The classes are absolutely amazing. and so is seeing everyone's work. For some reason, I got stainless steel wire, which was so hard to turn. That's why I have extra steel stick in the middle. There are also 2 broken drill bits in the wood. That's alright. Sturdier wire is better than flimsy wire, so that's okay. Let's see what we got here. Ooh. Very good. Very nice face. Very clean. Yeah, really good job with the eyelids and the way the eyes flow. Alright. A new character approaches. A new traveler. Well, smart on you to use steel stick to fix any structural issues. Very good. All right. You're doing very good there, Levid. I can't wait to see more from you. You're off to a great start. All right, Dragon. The painting has begun. Always hesitant with this part. I've seen lots of videos where they do Zenthal priming, and I decided to give it a try. Not sure how it is going to work. Edit. Week 11. At this point, I'm already halfway painting. I find hard to get a nice palette. I feel everything is brown. Yeah, it's easy to like... Yep. I know what you mean there, Dragon. Because a lot of things are brown. So you just gotta try to diversify your browns and look for opportunities to make things not brown. You know, like for example, like the clothing being like a color, like a red, blue, or green or something, to try and mix it up. So, all right, we'll see what we get. So this is with the Zenthal priming, which we talked about. You do a dark base coat, and then you take the airbrush from the angle where the light's going to be hitting the sculpture, and you spray white, and it creates a natural kind of shading or gradient. It's one of the ways to approach the painting. All right. I like the base you came up with. This is a good. Yeah, man. Look at how much just that Zenthal priming does already. Very cool. All right, I'm excited. I'm excited to see more from you. Just keep trying to find opportunities to make different colors or to add in different colors. And also keep it in mind for your base too, you know, maybe let's say it is really like a woody brown, kind of a lot of that on your character, then maybe the base should be like red, like almost like a Tennessee dirt instead of like normal earthy brown dirt. You know, change it up so the character stands out from the base so they don't look too similar, you know. So you'll figure it out. Sherry, okay, okie dokie. I'm ready to paint this fella unless there's a last minute changes or additions. I have him loosely in place and the base kind of arranged. Okay. Though I'm sure I will make change a bit. I'll be using soil, moss, pebbles, mini shrubs, and maybe some other little things after my main guy's painted. But this is pretty close to what I envisioned and wanted. A retired old village merchant who now spends his days in the woodlands, sharing his corn with critters who are about. This has been exciting and fulfilling class. Loved watching everyone's progress and visions. So glad I was here for the adventure. Yeah. I have the same feeling for sure. Let's see what we got. That's awesome. I love the little mushrooms on the log and cool. Great work, Sherry. A wonderful scene. There he is. Yeah, so I'll probably we'll see how we go with the paintwork, but there's a chance I might get into doing showing you guys some of my mixed media base trickeries. We'll see. We shall see. We have 5 classes to paint. We've already used 1 and only got through the skin tone, so. But as we get further into the painting class, there's going to be less need for instruction, because a lot of what I do is the same tactics, just done over different parts. So who knows? Please show the trickeries. Yeah, so we might have time for that. Morph. Okay. Week 10 or week 11, I'm not sure. Okay. Finish the second hand holding carrots. It's taking out of the bag. I also did, so not a fan of back of the hand, so I'll rework it. First hand holding beer is done, and from last time I also did the underbelly shell and tail attachments and a barrel. Never ending sculpt. Marathon piece. Sadie, stop it. Yeah, that beer turned out really good. The froth that you made on the mug, perfect. This was last time. You already saw. Oh, okay, I already saw it. Okay, we already saw this. Oh yeah, that's right. I really like that tail. It did a good job there. Yeah, very nice. Okay. All right, let me go here. New. All right, that's it. Cool. Great work, everybody. I'm sure there's lots of you out there still busy working. Don't worry, this is not a race. Just make progress, okay? Just make some progress each week, okay? Commit to a little bit. Make baby steps on your commitment. But remember, we want to be in the. We want to finish our projects, okay? So just keep moving forward, and don't worry about finishing it by a certain time or anything like that, okay? So, and I'll figure out what we're doing for the feedback. But either way, I'm really excited to continue the paint work with you guys next Sunday. I'll be back. Make sure you guys type in hashtag week 12 with your submission in the Discord. If you don't know already, just join Discord, go to the CNOT Bush School section here, and then post your photo or video, and type in hashtag week 12 for next week. So, all right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you all for joining me today. Let me actually check notifications really quick. Really quick, 1 second. I'm sure we had some subs come in. Oh, no. Sign up. I just want to sign in. Log in. If it'll let me. Okay, we're good. Okay, let's see. Recent events. Soldier Dude, thank you for the 4 months. Shuli with the 26 months, thank you, Shuli. Paul Shack with the 7 months. No worries about the wisdom. I know it's class time. No wisdom for you, but thank you. Oh, hey, and a new subscriber, Newt. Am I saying that right? Newt. Welcome to the CNOT Bush Kingdom. Normally we have like notifications and wisdom and all that stuff, but not on class day. Sorry. But hey, thank you so much. Thank you so much, everybody. Thanks for the support. I think I got everybody. 2 hours. Oh, we got a raid from Unstoppable. Thank you, Unstoppable. Oh, and wait. Neovox? Am I that right? Neovox resub, 35 months. Thank you very much, Neovox. Didn't you just... I thought you just resubbed. Weird. The timings on those are so weird sometimes. Alright, there we go. Oh, and Jack. Oh yeah, okay, so Jack of Twitch and Demon Side. Thank you both for your Prime subs. There we go. Okay. I think I got everybody now. Alright, thank you guys. Let's get a raid going here. Find somebody that's streaming, and class will be again next Sunday, same time, 9 a.m. Central Time. Demon Seed. I see. There we go. Oh, who should we raid today? Let's go raid Kreia Natura. He's doing some forging an axe, looks like. Sounds pretty cool. All right. And I'll see you guys on Monday. We'll be continuing work on our Skyrim Dragon, Alduin. Till then, bye-bye.